Hello guys, Jay here. And now we are back with our 5-step bookkeeping setup series. And the first step in our list is set up sync and categorize banking feeds. This may sound a bit complicated, so let's break it down. The first part will be syncing the bank feeds. It means syncing your bank's credit cards and PayPal to the bank feeds so that it will download the transactions to QuickBooks Online. The second part would be categorizing the transactions. We will go to the bank feeds and then view the banking transactions. And then we will assign categories, vendor, etc. Okay, so the first part will be syncing the bank feeds. Here on the banking section, we can connect the bank and credit cards and PayPal by clicking link account. You will choose the bank that you are using. For example, if you have Chase Bank, and then you will log in with your username and password or login details. And then you will select all the accounts that you want to get synchronized to QuickBooks Online. Say if you have a checking account, a savings account, and a credit card, you can select them all and synchronize to QuickBooks Online. For example, here on the sample company, we have already synchronized the checking account, the savings, and the MasterCard. QuickBooks Online downloads the transactions here for easy categorization. It's one of the biggest things that we like in QuickBooks Online. It's a good thing to note that QuickBooks Online synchronizes only the past 90 days by default. If you have more than that, for example, you are gonna be setting up 1 year's worth of books, or you have 1 year's worth of transactions, then you will need to upload the transactions manually. So how do we upload transactions? First, you need to get the monthly PDF statements from your bank, and then use a software or an application to convert them to CSV. And then after converting it to CSV, we can upload it to Books Online using this link, upload from file. So in this option, we select the CSV file and then select the bank account or credit card that we are importing to, and the transactions will go into the bank feeds, just like an automatically downloaded transactions. Okay, so now that the sync has been done, your bank and credit card or PayPal are synchronized to the bank feeds of QuickBooks Online, then we will go to the second part, which is categorizing the transactions. So here on the bank feeds, we need to categorize transactions. Usually I start with sorting by description. That way, transactions that are alike or almost the same or similar descriptions will be grouped together. For example, A rental, and books by Bessie. If you need more details in reviewing the transactions, we can enable here the option to show bank details. So if you show bank details, QuickBooks Online will give you more details of the transactions, but somehow it also looks more complicated because you have more descriptions to look at. So most of the time, it's enough to just um, hide the bank details, and then we will be able to see the description here. And now we will be assigning the vendor or customer. It's very important to assign the correct vendor so that the expenses will be grouped together on the vendor section. For example, this is A1 rental, add, save. Depending on the type of service or product that you have bought or paid to this vendor, you will assign the correct category. Let's look what kind of vendor is A1 rental. Mm, Equipment rentals. Looks like it's equipment rentals. So we will add here equipment rental. Okay, it's already there. So in QuickBooks Online, we now have a feature called tags. We can use tags to track specific expenses. For example, if you want to keep track of all transactions that are related to travel, then we can create a tag that is travel. But it seems like this one will not be related to travel, so let's remove it. Okay. If you want to put a memo, then you can put it here. For example, this one is related to travel. Um, when the owner travels, the owner incurs expenses related to meals. So this one could be related to meals. And then we can use the tag, which is travel. Travel meals. Okay. So this option here, if this expense is related to a specific customer, then we can tag the customer. If it's billable to the customer, you can click here billable. Usually we do not use this. It's only used on specific situations. What are tags anyway? Tags are customizable labels that lets you track expenses. Another interesting thing that we can do on bank feeds is create bank rules. So if we have transactions that looks like they are getting repeated from time to time, then we can create bank rules so that QuickBooks Online will be able to automatically categorize the transaction once QuickBooks Online downloaded it into the bank feeds. For example, Hicks Hardware. This is the bank detail that is very common to this transaction, Hicks Hardware. So creating bank rule, very important thing here is we should be sure that the category is fixed or almost fixed. What I mean by fixed is that whenever we incur an expense related to this vendor, it will be the same category. So if that's the case, then let's create a bank rule. Let's name it by the vendor name. Then we can assign which bank accounts are related to this vendor payment or to this vendor. So whenever we pay it by checking or MasterCard, then the bank rule will apply. And then the criteria will be fixed hardware. We can test the rule so we can know if it's valid or working. Click test rule. It shows this rule will apply to two currently unreviewed transactions, so it's working. Let's select the category. For example, fixed hardware is repair and maintenance. Maintenance and repair. That's fine. So it's not related to travel. And then it's advisable that we disable this at first because sometimes auto add messes to transactions on the bank feeds, especially if you have a lot of transactions. Then if it mess up, then that's a lot of problems, right? Let's save it. So now that we have created a bank rule, we will expect that bank rule will apply to the two transactions. So you can see here, there's rule appearing here. So we know that it's working. Okay. This one has a matching check and need to analyze if it's correct. So the date is the same and the amount is the same and the vendor is the same. So I think this is correct. Let's match it. So bank call, again, is simply to automatically categorize the transactions. If a vendor expense is appearing from time to time, then we can create bank calls to automatically categorize it. So here on the bank feeds, we have options such as categorize, meaning we can add it as an expense or a deposit, assign vendor or customer and category, or we can find match. If the transaction is already inside QuickBooks Online, then we will have to match it. This is to prevent duplication of entries. Thing that we can do here is create a transfer or credit card payment. Specifically, a transfer is movement of funds from one bank account to another bank account. For example, if there's a transfer from checking to savings, then we will create a bank transfer. Just for example, this one is a transfer to the savings account, and then we will input the savings account here and record as transfer. And then if it's valid transfer to the savings account, then we can match it here. Since it's not appearing here right now. Another thing that we can record is credit card payment. So let's look at the credit card feeds if there's a payment from the checking account. There's no payment appearing here, so we can create the full example. But if there is, then we just need to go here on the checking account. For example, let's assume that this one is a credit card payment. So select record as credit card payment. And then we input here credit card. And optionally, we can put a vendor name. Sometimes I put the bank name here. For example, Chase. Okay. So when we record credit card payment, usually it will be automatically matched to the credit card. So we don't need to match it anymore here. In the case that it doesn't match automatically, we need to match it here on the credit card fields to avoid duplication. Another thing worth mentioning here on the benefits are the three columns for review, categorized, and excluded. So for review are the transactions that needs to be reviewed. These are not yet inside QuickBooks Online. Once you review them, then it will be here on the categorized section. And it's linked to the actual transaction in QuickBooks Online. For example, this one is linked to the transaction. See? For excluded column, these are transactions that are invalid. It doesn't need to be accounted for, and we need to exclude them. For example, this one, let's assume this one is an invalid transaction. So we need to select this and click exclude. Once you exclude a transaction, it will stay here on excluded tab. If later you have found out that this is a valid transaction, then just click undo and it will go back to the for review tab. Okay, once you have finished all the transactions on the bank feeds, then it's time to go to reconciling the accounts. So the next part on our 5-step bookkeeping series is reconciling the bank accounts, credit cards, and PayPal. So don't forget to tune in.